Good night. Good night. Have one just tonight. God is good. God is good all the time. My name is Emma J. Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word and the news on tonight. Solomon had we done with Solomon, so we on Elijah. Okay, so Elijah announced a great drought. Elijah said to Ahab, "The Lord, the God of whom I serve, there will be neither rain for a few years." Now, that's a long time not to have no rain. So he let them know. God said, in 2 years, you ain't going to have no rain. You know, so Elijah was a prophet that God had sent to Israel. Israel had no faithful king throughout their history. That each king was wicked, led them to other gods. So every time they had a king, they had a wicked king that was, led them to serve other gods. So there was no king, no priest, to bring God word to his people. And, that's what Elijah was doing. So that's what Elijah was. So besides Solomon and, now he used to do it. He go to, used to try to comfort David. He used to comfort Saul. He was that kind of prophet that go around, and help other prophets. So Elijah is that prophet that God was sent somewhere. Now the word to the people. Now God called a prophet to try to rescue Israel from these evil kings that they kept on getting throughout their history. So those who worship Adam believed that he was the God who was not. Now, the God they made up, the image of that God that they made up, they thought that God was the one was bringing the water, bringing the rain. So that's why God had put a drought to let them know, okay, your God is bringing this rain down. Okay, y'all ain't gonna have no rain for 2 years. I'm not gonna give y'all water, no rain for 2 years. If your God can bring rain down, I want to see some rain come down. Now, so they believe that their God they serve, was the one that bringing the rain and harvest out. So that's why God said, okay, in 2 years, y'all not going to have no rain. I want to see who's going to bring the rain down. So Elijah had walked and told him there will be no rain for several years. And Ahab was shocked. Ahab had built a strong military defense, but he was not able, to help this drought. He couldn't even deal with that. But you serving other gods, that y'all saying supposed to do all this stuff. So he supposed to do all that. Y'all got your God supposed to do all this here stuff. So since they God, since they think they God can do all this here stuff, so God said, I'm not going to give y'all no rain until 2 years. So Elijah bravely confronted the man and led his people, into evil. But Elijah told them about the mighty God. So they're talking about their God. So Elijah said, now, let me tell you about our God. Now, he's the one that can bring this rain down. He's the one that's stopping the rain. He's the one that's stopping the rain. He's the one that can make the rain come down. So God responded not only with words, but with action. See, God ain't going to speak to him. He's going to show action. So he gonna hold the rain up for 2 years. And when he decide he want to bring that rain down, he going to bring the rain down. But he want to see if their God can bring this rain down. Since they're saying their God can do all this harvest stuff. So God had turned to Raven and a widow in Jared territory. So God has sent help where it's least suspected. So Elijah pretty much ain't going. He don't know really what he walking into. Because sometimes God has sent his prophet somewhere where they least suspect. So the word of the Lord had came to Elijah. He said, leave here, and turn eastward and hide in the Raven, east of the Jordan. So now there is no water. Where Elijah at, but God knows someone, that need help and didn't have water. So God is telling him, he will have water there and brooks, and I have directed Raven to supply you with food there. So now God directed this widow to supply him food, and so he did what the Lord had told him to do. And he went to Raven, to stay there, and he got there, and Raven had brought him bread, you know, the Raven, this person that God had sent him over there, so he got food, she brought him food and everything else. Just like God said. God said, I direct her, to bring you some food, to eat it, to eat some food. And she did that. He brought her food in the morning. He brought some food in the evening. But then that came to a point about to run dry. So we still moving on, so we still moving on with Elijah. We following along with Elijah. Now God gonna send him to this widow. And so Elijah and Raven drinking water from brooks, but now brooks is all dried up. The place he was able to lay there, had the water and had the food, now is all dried up. That because there had been no rain in the land. Now the word of the Lord came to him, go at once, to this widow, in Zarephath, later, in the region and stay there. He telling her to go there, and I need you to stay there. See, God already knows the situation is, but he don't give Elijah the full information. He just give him parts of it, and I need you to go here. So Elijah is the prophet that always deal with drought. Wherever someone need help in dry land, God always send Elijah to help out and show miracles and everything. So now this is a second mission that God is sending Elijah. Now he going to a widow and stay there. But he don't know, all the activity about to go on. God saying the same thing. I direct her to give you food, water, and everything else. But then when he get there, her resources is real low. So he did what God had said. And when he went to the town gate, a widow was there. As soon as he got there, as soon as he got to the gate, she was there, gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, will you bring me a little water? Because see, God already told him, when you get there, I got somebody that's going to provide for you. Give me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink. And she was going to get it, and he called, and he asked for some water. So then as she walking off, he said, bring me a piece of bread. Not knowing, I see when he walked up to the gate, he seen already picking up sticks and stuff. So she picking up sticks, about to fix her last meal. So she respond, as surely as the Lord your God live, I don't have any bread. On a handful of flour, in a jar, in a little olive oil, in a jar. Now I am gathering up a few sticks to take home to make a meal for myself and my son, and that will be the last meal we're gonna eat and die. Now she ain't had no faith, so she gathering up the little sticks and stuff, and she's saying that gonna be her last meal. So now God has sent Elijah over there, by this widow, and that she will supply him food. That this is second mission. Now the other lady God sent him over there, that she did provide the food. Now with this situation here, he said, well, bring me some water. And matter of fact, bring me a piece of bread. And she said, long as my father live, all I have is a handful of flour, and I have a little olive oil. So she got enough sticks to make her last meal for her and her son to eat and die. Now God already know what she have and what she don't have, but that's why God has sent Elijah over there to receive a miracle that God will have Elijah to use the tools that she has. Now sometimes we can have the tools that we have to make things work, So she also have a lack of faith, because she said she picking up these little sticks to make her last meal, So now Elijah gonna tell her what God said. She gonna start having a little faith because she gonna trust in Elijah, because she believed that was the last food that she had. But Elijah gonna take the little tools she have, and he gonna follow the instruction from God, and they gonna have food every day. So Elijah had said to her, "Don't be afraid." He said, "Go home and do as I say." So now the woman, had told Elijah that she don't have anything. But Elijah first made make a small loaf of bread, for me. Elijah still told her, go make me a small loaf of bread. Now she just told him all I have was a handful of flour. Now he said, go home, do like I said, make me a loaf of bread, a small loaf of bread for what you have, and bring it to me, and make sure something is for yourself and for your son. Now she have a handful of flour. She have a little cooking oil, olive oil. Now he telling her, go make a loaf of bread. Make sure it's enough for him, you, and your son. Out of a handful of flour. So the little tool that she had, Elijah also made him a small loaf of bread, for him, her, and her son. So a widow and her son reached the end of their researches and never imagined the miracles that God is about to plan in their life. So the same God who caused the drought, is perfectly able to give sustenance to this woman and her son, and through them to his prophet. So the provision, of the food for Elijah, extraordinary enough. The supernatural abundance of the flour in a jar in the earth, seems still more miracles and mysteries. So when our own resources, appears to be tapped out, she was tapped out. We too can trust that our God is greater than our natural circumstances. Now this is what the Lord said. The jar of flour will not use up, and the jar of oil will not run dry, until the day of the Lord send rain on the land. Now that's powerful. That's powerful. Now she had a handful of flour. She had a little oil, and God said that flour is not going to run out. That oil will not run dry. You're going to have food every day until I send rain down. That she have only a handful of flour and a little olive oil. But God has said your flour will not run out. Now she have a little oil for God. And God said her oil will not run dry, until the day he sent rain on that land. Now that's God's power for seeing a miracle, with the little tools that she had. With the little tools that she had. Now her food will never run out. Now her, Elijah, and that son, they're going to be eating food every day. Every day when she was out there picking sticks and saying that's her last meal. Now she eating food every day from a handful of flour that's never running out. A little oil she had in a jar. It's never gonna run dry. So God provided for her when she thought she was gonna eat her last meal. Like God always right on time. Now he sent Elijah there just in time. When she tapped out, all her resources just started running out. So she went away and did what Elijah told her to do. So there was food every day, for Elijah and for the woman and her family. Now just like God said, they had food every day, the whole family in the house, for the jar of flour was not used up, and the jar, of oil did not rain dry, and keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. So when the widow met Elijah, she thought she was preparing for her last meal, not knowing a man of God was going to come to her house and perceive a miracle. But a simpler act of faith produced a miracle. But see, she didn't have faith at first. So she had to start trusting Elijah. So she trusted Elijah and gave all that she had to eat to him, to eat with him. Now faith is a step between promise and assurance. So now later on, Now we saw the miracle. Food every day. Food every day. Okay, so now that is done. Now sometimes you can have drama back to back. When you done with one situation, he goes something else happen. So now they got the food situation good. They got food every day. Okay, so now later on, the widow's son, got sick and grew worse and worse, and finally had stopped breathing. It just had a good miracle. Good miracle. Sometimes you have drama back to back. So even when God had done a miracle in our lives, our trouble may not be over. The funeral was a terrible experience, but the worst was yet to come. So God's provision is never given to order to let us rest upon it. Each trial we faces will have to depend on God. Every trial we face. You can't trust nobody else. You can't pray to nobody else. I mean, they do. They praise another God, but God had to stop the rain because they're saying that God can produce the rain. So the widow said to Elijah, now her son is sick. So now, she's talking to Elijah, what do you have against me? So they produced good miracle. And now all of a sudden her son is sick. And so he asked him, what you done, what you have against me? What you have against me? So you is a man of God. Did you come here to kill my son? Now she think Elijah came here to kill her son. So now there is trials back to back. One, she had ran out of research for food, but then God proceeded a miracle, and now her son is sick. So Elijah said, give me the son. See, Elijah don't know what's going on. God just sent him over there. So Elijah said, give me the son. Give me the son. So Elijah had said, give me the son. He cried out to the Lord, and God have you brought, he said, why you brought tragedy on this woman here? So on this widow had caused her son to die. So then he stretched out his arm out on the board 3 times and cried out to the Lord, Lord my God, let this boy live. Let this boy life return to me. Let this boy life return to me. And so the Lord heard Elijah cry, and the boy life returned to him, and he lived. Elijah pick up the child, carry him, down the room into the house and give it back to the mother. He said, this is your son. Your son is alive. So your son is alive. And that was another power from God. He already perceived a miracle. And now he brought the son, restored the son back to life. So then a woman had said to Elijah, now I know that you are a man of God, and that's the word of the Lord from your mouth is the truth. Now she saw the miracle right in front of her eyes. She saw how he talking to God and everything else, and then her son, come alive, raise up, so nothing is impossible. So Elijah was in the land, was suffering from God's judgment on drought and famine. Now God has sent him to this widow, and he found refuge with this woman and her son. So God has said she will provide, for Elijah. She gonna provide for you food. So Elijah asked for bread, and all she had was a handful of flour and a little herb. So God proceeded a miracle where he never had rain dry. God's faithfulness supplied for her prophet. And the people who hurried in him during that time of need, it seemed impossible, to us not to go to God. But God will use the tools that we have to make it work. So God has saw this widow in a high place. He multiplied, his grace towards her in a time of trouble. And at first she had a lack of faith. She thought she was preparing her last meal. Then she met Elijah. Then she started trusting Elijah, the man of God, and then her son died. First she got sucker, she had faith. She started trusting Elijah, because God sent them food every day. And then another tragedy came right after, and then her son died, and then, she asked Elijah, what you come here for? To kill me. Now my son is dead. So Elijah don't know what's going on. So he cried out. He said, give me the son. And he cried out to God, and God gave him instruction what to do, and he restored the boy back to life. So they got food every day. The son died, but got restored. God did the impossible. He did the impossible with the little tools that this woman had. Did the impossible with the little tools that this woman had. So we can't never doubt what he can do. He already saw. See, he sees, that this woman, was planning to fix her last meal. So he sent Elijah over there, just in time to drop food down, have food every day, and so he perceived two miracles. He produced food for them, and he restored her son back to life. That was impossible that God did. We can never say what he cannot do. So he always sees what's going on, and he'll send Elijah the prophet. He caused the drought, and he'll end the drought. When he get ready. Because they kept saying, that God can do this and do that. So he stopped the rain for 2 years. And then he moved. When he stopped the rain, that's when he moved Elijah. Okay, I need you to go over there. When he went to another land, the lady fed him and everything else like God said. Okay, that started running dry. He moved him over there to the widow. So when he moved over there, she had the kind of food to feed. It had to produce a miracle for this city, to produce some food. Okay, so we're gonna talk about I talk about this here this morning. So this pretty much is an update. Alabama reverse ruling. Supreme Court reject Alabama. Voting map. That diluted black voters' power. So the impact of the decision, which required the legislature to draw a second district, in which black voters have the opportunity to elect representatives of their choice, but will not be limited to Alabama. Violating the Voting Rights Act by drawing a map that dilute black voters in their state. So they can't. It's limited for Alabama. For their state. So it's violating their voting rights. Act drawing a map that diluting black voters in their state. So black voters of color across the country, the Supreme Court has upheld Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So Section 2 is the Voting Rights Act from 1996, prohibit voting practice and produces the discrimination, on the basis of race, color. So Section 2 is a general provision, that prohibits states and local government from imposing any voting rules that result in denying or abridgment of the right of any citizen to vote, on account of race and color. So the 15th Amendment, guarantee African American men the right to vote. So in the past, 1965 to 1982, to protect voters from discrimination, to provide truly protection, Congress must restore, the Voting Rights Act to its former past for the People Act, to set a new standards for open election free from discrimination, restore, Voting Rights Act, to full strength. So I reverse the Supreme Court ruling order on rejecting Alabama voting map, diluting black voters' power. So this is an update. I had to talk about this morning. So we just talk about Elijah, that God had sent him over there by the river, and he performed a miracle with the tools that she had. You know, he wound up performing two miracles because he performed some food that she had every day. Said it was not going to run out. You know, all she had was a handful of flour and a little herb. You know, so then, you know, we just talked about Alabama. And I reversed the ruling. You know, they rejected Alabama voting map that diluted black voters' power. You know, and I said restore the Voting Rights Act, you know, to full strength. You know, so I reversed the Supreme Court ruling order on rejecting the Alabama voting map, diluting black voters' power. You know, so that's all the word and news that I have for you tonight. You know, so y'all have, remember, you always, wherever you got in your house, you know, when you run a tap out, you know, the she was going to fix some sticks. She was going to use that little flour and that little herb. She figured that was her last meal. You know, God saw how she was struggling. That's why he sent Elijah over there, and he got over there just in time. Because she was already by the gate, packing up her last meal. You know, so whatever tools that you have, you know, we can always do with that. You know, God can always produce more. You know, he always can make a way out of no way. He can do the impossible. You know, so that's all I have for you tonight. Y'all have a blessed and safe night, and I'll see you on the next video.